we go. Hey, my name is Phil the Cruz. Welcome to Cruising with Phil. I got a special guest, community advocate. That's a term we call this fellow. He's a good guy. I met him at the Bikeway Coalition celebration. Mr. Bob Murphy, highly respected among the community, among advocates. How you doing, Bob?
Good. How are you today?
Good, good, good. So tell the people who you are and what you're all about.
Yeah. My name is Bob Murphy, and I experienced a brain injury in 2011, and I became active in activism and advocacy work once I became an Ontario disability recipient and found out how our government is allowing us to live under legislated poverty, a system that's designed to make you fail.
Yeah,
And
interesting.
that's why I got involved in the different community organizations that I speak for and associate with.
Hey, kind of talk about your brain aneurysm. How did that? Can you explain more about detail how that came about for yourself? Just
It,
happening.
it was not my injury is acquired brain injury. It's not traumatic, so I didn't have a collision or fall down or anything like that. I just woke up one morning to go golfing with my buddies and had a headache.
Okay.
And um, I knew something was wrong, and I didn't want to drive because I didn't think it was safe for me to drive. So I walked outside my apartment to wave down a cab to take to the hospital, and that's really all I remember.
Wow. Just like that, eh? Wow.
Just like that.
And then next day you woke up in the bed, lying in bed.
I woke up a week later in an octagon on the fifth floor at Toronto Western.
A week later? Oh my
A
gosh.
week later with or several days later with my family, my girlfriend there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it
And then,
wasn't
did the doctor know right away that you had an aneurysm, or was he still like checking the results or whatever?
well, they thought I had meningitis.
Oh, really? Okay.
They thought I had meningitis, and then I guess after they did CT scan, they saw the brain bleed, and then from Toronto West or from Toronto from Humber River Hospital here in Weston, they transported me right away via ambulance to Toronto Western.
Oh, yeah. How long were you in the hospital for?
I wasn't in for long, maybe 7, 8 days.
Okay. So wow. So you were working like before that full time, like on your own?
Yep, I was working full time. I was a union steward, Steelworkers Union. I was a avid golfer. I was a certified race official for Alpine Canada,
Oh, cool.
and I was certified scuba diver. So I was pretty active.
Hey, fellow scuba diver, I love
Yeah,
it. Cool. Yeah, wow. So this whole changed your whole lifestyle, right? You were saying earlier.
everything changed. Everything changed completely. We call it in the brain injury world or the injury world, life before and life after.
Oh my gosh. Wow. So I was gonna say, like, I don't talk too many brain injuries, but my sister's a nurse. She talks about it. When you wake up and you realize you can't do certain things now, do you actually like you try to dare yourself, like say, like, I think I could do it, but back down. You said you can't.
Well, a lot of times it takes a long time to to get over the sudden change. But what I advocate for is that healthcare has got to continue the minute you leave the hospital. Healthcare shouldn't stop the minute you leave the hospital. I had no healthcare.
Yeah, no health care.
I had no programs, no therapy programs, no exercise programs, anything like that. My care started 5 years after my injury.
Didn't your work compensate for you for anything like that? For
They they, I was really struggling, and um, I ended up going back on modified duties. And the reason why I did that is because workman's compensation, or the amount that you get paid for short-term disability, is minimal. So really, what you do is you force yourself to go back to work because you can't afford to stay at home,
no, no.
even though your health is in jeopardy. I had no post care. I couldn't make a decision. I could barely walk. I was walking the walls. I was falling upstairs, downstairs. I mean, the whole gamut.
And you're by yourself this whole time, like dealing with this?
Yes,
Wow.
yes, and my care started 5 years after, when I ran into a nurse practitioner and said, "Okay, Bob, we're going to request every medical document that we have in Ontario on you, and we're going to start right from the beginning." And after a certain amount of testing and all that, then they had I was really fortunate. I had a quota worker that visited me every month for 2 years,
Nice.
just to make sure that I was functioning, that I was able to function on my own. And that happened 5 years after injury.
Girl,
We got to
five
make sure,
years. Wow.
yeah, we got to
So
make sure,
that's
that that doesn't happen to anybody else, because things can go downhill really fast in 5 years.
well, you mean like
Mentally
less
and
than 1 year.
physically.
I mean, wow. So I was gonna ask you, like, so you're working full time. How many hours you were full time back then into modified working hours? What is the difference in timings as well?
Well, modified working hours is modified work. In other words, they'll give you work that is not as strenuous on your body.
Okay.
We call it the modified harassment program, and what they do is they employers will harass you, and they'll have you sit there at a desk and do nothing, because it's cheaper, it's more cost efficient to pay you instead of put a claim through workman's compensation. So they'll put you there until you get bored to death, until you beg your doctor to go back to work, and then you put yourself at risk. That's
Well,
what
you're,
that's what companies do. I mean, that's just the nature of the game.
and that's just all basically all companies do that, right? Like
Oh,
you're
absolutely. There's no question about it. Nobody wants you on the WSIB books, because, WSIB for companies is very, very expensive.
so before you had your aneurysm, you had no idea that there was nothing available if when you had an injury like this, like back then, like
No,
no,
just
wow,
no. I wasn't one to get headaches, so I knew something was wrong.
yeah,
I don't know how. I just knew something was wrong. So there was not like the day before I had mild headaches or anything like that. It's just one day you wake up in a headache, and it's as simple as that.
So
As complicated it is.
what was the first thing that they got compensated from the government after 5 years? What was the first compensation they gave you for your
Well, I went. What happened is I ended up quitting my job. I wasn't able to make sound decisions. So by quitting my job was the dumbest thing ever, because I couldn't collect unemployment insurance.
yeah
Right. So I disqualified myself for a job that I was at that particular company for 20 years.
yeah oh my gosh 20 years yeah
So so I threw that all away, but I wasn't thinking. And then once you quit, I mean, there's no going back,
yeah
right? And so I had no way to live. I had no way to pay my bills, to pay my rent. I was paying my rent on monies that I was saving up to buy a property, and I was burning through my credit cards, my line of credit, just to survive.
yeah.
Um,
So how long did it take for you to get your first compensation from the government? And what was it? What was the first thing you got?
the first time I got accepted.
Yeah,
Well, to get accepted, when you have long-term injuries, meaning it's not going to get better next week, or you're not going to be better next year. I mean, it's going to be continuing, if not deteriorating. The most important thing is that you have to get a doctor that knows how to document properly. If you get a doctor that just willy-nilly fills that form, and you get declined because it's just inaccurate, or it's
yeah.
just not extensive enough, that could cost you a year.
Oh yeah.
And then you have to reapply or appeal. And I had another doctor, nurse practitioner, that I took on as my doctor after that, and then I was accepted. To get accepted in long-term disability, Ontario disability, I mean, it's just not easy. You just don't fill out a couple
No,
answers, and there
no.
you go. It's very long process, and while you're waiting for Ontario disability, for me, it was a no-brainer. I mean, what I had is what I had. It's not. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
But you have to go. while you're going through all these things, is that you're on I call it the Ontario Doesn't Work program. So Ontario Doesn't Work program is, a program that's tried to get individuals back in the workforce that, have had struggles or injuries or whatever. But I think at that time they were only paying like $709 a month.
Wow. Yeah.
So you're getting $709 a month,
Yeah.
plus you're waiting for your Ontario disability. And then I was working 2 part-time jobs because the Ontario government, when you're on Ontario disability, after your first $200 earned, you only get to keep half. They take away the other half.
Oh my gosh.
So if you're making $1 an hour, really you're only making 50 cents an hour.
Yeah.
It's really it's just insane. It's just insane. It's designed to fail. So what I was doing, like many others are doing, is that they're working jobs that they simply shouldn't be doing, that put them at risk and put their fellow employees at risk. But I was working 2 part-time jobs because I had to eat. I had to pay my rent.
Yeah.
So I was working 2 part-time jobs and really only getting paid for one. Thank you, Doug Ford, right?
Can I ask you? Can I ask what 2 jobs you were doing?
I started volunteering at the Stop Community Center on Davenport. I started volunteering there because I wanted to get in an advocacy training program where they would train you, and that is the Cadillac training programs in it pretty much in Canada. It's well recognized all over. And I was volunteering at a food bank because the food bank was allowing me to see that there's such a need in there. I never knew anything about any of this stuff. I didn't know anything about politics. I didn't know who RMP. I didn't know any of that stuff. But I used volunteering to see how I was able to function socially and physically. It was a measuring stick to see what my body and my brain would allow me still to do. And then I was volunteering at also at the farmers market at St. Clair and Christie. That's run by the Stop organization. And I was volunteering there just on Saturdays for 4 hours, and because it's a fun place to be. But I was just adjusting just to see what I was allowed to do. So when I took the training and I was working in the advocacy office, I had to stop my volunteering because you can't be an employee and a volunteer at the same time because of administration time.
Okay.
So then I started working on Saturdays for an organic farmer, working at his booth because I knew everybody there. I was volunteering there. And then I started working for him because it was just a fun place to be. And you get to pick the brains of all the farmers, right? And I did it for, I just couldn't do it any longer. It was just too much for me physically. So I was working there, and I was working, I was an vaccine outreach worker, COVID vaccine team with the city of Toronto. I did that for 2 years.
Okay. And you get paid for that?
Yes, I got paid for it, but I only got to keep half.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah,
Get the half, right? So, so you're really working 2 jobs and just earning money for one.
For one job, yeah.
It's insanity. It's
So
insanity.
that's how you fed yourself for the next 2 years.
Yes, and I just turned 65, so I'm able to collect I waited a long time for 65 because when you're living on $12.28 a month, I'm telling you, it's very daunting.
Yeah.
And even if you're working part-time. But now that I'm 65, I'm off the provincial books. I'm collecting a CPP and old age pension and guaranteed income supplement. But now I get to collect my Teamsters or my steelworkers pension.
Oh, good. 20 years, right? It's good.
Yeah, 20 years in that pension program, and it was a fair chunk of change. So things changed, from one extreme to the other, and because I couldn't claim if I drew any money from my pension, it would be deemed as income.
Yeah, and and you got to tell what tax take off, right? Because I just started getting my pension in. I just turned 60, so I started getting my pension in August.
Yeah. Well,
So
they would take 50%.
they take 50% off.
Like it's really insane. It's insane, and that's why I advocate about these things, because we've got to do better. We got to stop treating Ontario disability recipients like criminals.
You see what they do? I get a military pension. You want to take off. You say to get half a dollar off. You get 50 cents. We were doing provincial and federal for our retirement. So when I see
Oh,
my check, I go like, wow. And then I go, whoa. You mean I only work for $1 a day?
yeah.
It's ridiculous, right? I mean, even the old little personal, but it's crazy.
So
It's
the reason why I got involved in these things is I just couldn't believe this stuff is going on in Canada. It was just unbelievable. And then when you live through it,
yeah.
holy mackerel.
So what
And
was the which first not program, well, group that you got volunteered with that you became an advocate? What was your first passion for that?
well, uh, West Park Hospital, I don't know if you're familiar with West Park Hospital in Weston, where they have a new building going up.
Yep.
What West Park is a rehabilitation hospital where you go to get yourself to the next stage in life, function physically. Um, I was I was attending a group there for individuals. They have an ABI, acquired brain injury unit there, and I got to meet individuals with not the same but similar situations. And then when COVID hit, they just stopped all the programs, all therapy programs. I mean, just like that. No, no, we're working on it, or we're adjusting. We're going to go to virtual like everybody else. There, they just cut everybody off,
It's so
and
bad.
it
Like
was hor
yeah,
it
it's
was
like cold
horrifying.
turkey. It's like, sorry, you got a condition, but we
That's
can't
it.
do it right now. Can you put it on
And
hold until we get better?
yeah,
Jeez.
and for some people, for some individuals, I mean, it was devastating.
Oh
It was
yeah. Can
devastating
you
to,
imagine?
to them mentally, because they lost that additional support system. So I wrote a nice.
I'm glad you pointed that out because I've talked about with other people what you said. So all these programs just got cut during the COVID, and that's
Everything
just
stopped.
yeah, it's selfish. But it's like the government saying like, sorry, okay, you've got some sort of mental
Tough
problem.
luck,
Sorry,
right?
yeah,
Uh,
sorry, we got COVID going. We got something more important. Can you hold on to mental problems right now? Can you just hold on to the brain, and then we'll get back to you? It's
I
ridiculous.
was taking fall prevention twice a week for 3 years to strengthen because I have trouble with my balance, right? And bang, they just cut it off. So I wrote a nice letter to the executive officer of Toronto, of West Park Hospital, saying how disappointed that they should do better. They shouldn't know the individuals that are in programs, that somebody must be educated enough to figure this out. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
that hard, but
common sense, right?
you got to roll the floor. You got to figure something out. You just don't say, well, okay, well, we'll get back to you later.
And like nobody challenged it besides yourself. Like nobody said like, what's going
I,
on here?
I, I was the only one, and then the executive officer, Kim Cook, made an appointment. We did a Zoom with her and somebody from patient care administration, or anything like something like that. And they sent me a nice letter, and we had a meeting, and normal stuff, right? And then I got a call from somebody else at that hospital, and they said they're looking for individuals on their uh, 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 family patient advisory committee. So now I sit on the patient advisory committee of that hospital, and with the campus development.
Oh, that's good.
So that's how much it's changed. And the idea is that those of us with lived experience have a say in what goes on, and to make sure that this never happens again.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
And then I was put in touch with the Brain Injury Society of Toronto, and I started accessing many wonderful programs there. That's geared for individuals with a history of head trauma or brain injury. And then I became I happened to sit on the the Advocacy and Advisory Committee at Brain Injury Society Toronto. So I got involved in these things mainly that for individuals like me, that my care should have continued the second I left the hospital, not 5 years later.
Yeah.
And
So
we're
all these things you got involved, all these programs, and this is like after the 5 years. So that when you look back yourself, you said like at the beginning of the conversation, you had nothing. There was nothing out there, and now you're sitting on boards as a member with a voice,
yeah,
helping people out. It's
yeah,
incredible,
and
right?
we got to make sure that care continues. You have to have a care team, especially if you're not functioning, if you're not walking properly, you're not thinking properly. You need a care team, and we've got to get the doctors to understand these things, and especially with brain injury. And I mean, life, it's not like they get out of the hospital and, you're going to go golfing the next day or anything, right? Or go and play baseball. It just doesn't work that way.
You get the Bob. You get the disability tax credit for the government when you do your taxes and all that. You get that.
No, I didn't qualify for the disability tax credit.
How come? I was gonna talk about that after. Why is that?
I'm not sure. Somebody was telling me I went and spoke on Parliament Hill on June 7th with the Disability About Poverty. And they're telling me about that, but I can't remember why I didn't qualify for it.
Well, I asked you the question because I got my mom on disability. Like you said earlier, your animals are pretty straightforward. Well, the disability, I looked at the some of the criteria. It's incredible, like what they have on the criteria and what they have upcoming, like new developments and new things being proven. Like my sister has a sort of a not a brain injury, but she has a nervous condition and she should be on disability. And it affects her, and she's a nurse. She's a professional nurse. She's
Yeah,
retiring, but because it's not on that list of disability, she can't get that credit. But it
yeah.
affects her whole system, right? So that's why I asked you why you're not getting disability. And my question is, do you think they should update their criteria? I think they should. Like you said, you don't qualify, you know.
Well, I mean, just even to get extra monies for nutrition, I mean, the rules are like 40, 50 years old.
That's what I mean.
Uh,
It's very outdated, It's very
it-
outdated.
it's very outdated, and it's actually, if it wasn't so serious, it's actually quite laughable. If you look at it, you think, is anyone else looking at these forms, or is it just me? Like,
Yeah.
right?
But even the professional doctors and nurses and social workers, don't they see that like all these programs are like obsolete or not obsolete? They're just outdated. They need to be upgraded. It's like they got to be like I said, they got to be rezoned to like catch up with the rest of the society, because there's
Well,
also new developments. Sorry, go
well,
ahead.
they've got to learn to advocate for their for their patients,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I
And
mean.
it's got to start out, on the provincial level and the federal level. But our doctors, our doctors in a lot of cases, and it's sad to say that it's not about healthcare; it's about revenue care. It's like get many people in the gate as out as possible,
Yeah,
right? Doctors don't want you asking questions. Many of them, I shouldn't say all of them, but a lot of them. We
I
should be
got
able to ask our doctors whatever we want.
one of my best friends. She's a anesthesiologist. When I joined the military, she was becoming a doctor, just starting. I went
Yeah,
through 20 years, almost 20 years. She specialized in anesthesiology. Now when I left the military, I retired. She was graduating, but
yeah,
she's telling me the whole how they work, how they build their system, the whole thing.
yeah,
Wow. So I it's interesting how they get paid by the government, how they patients and all that.
yeah.
But like you said, they're like these professionals, like what they just go by the book, say, okay, we can't do that. But when you take a step forward, like yourself as a volunteer, you're taking a step forward, like let's get this done, or let's look into that, let's start something up, let's upgrade. It doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. It's like common dog, like you said, it's pretty obvious, like this is obsolete. So why don't we do something about it?
Yeah.
You know?
It's you have to get an MPP to champion it,
Oh, those. I
right?
heard about those. I heard about those guys.
I mean, we have MPPs that are allies, and some, are not that friendly.
You have an MPP ally? Let me know who you. I want to know who this guy is or
I,
girl is.
I, I,
Yeah, they're pretty good. Some are pretty good. I'm kidding.
I've had some unfortunate situations, but some fortunate situation with Jill Andrew. Jessica Bell, who's the tenant critic. I'm also with Acorn. Have you ever heard of
Oh
Acorn?
yeah, yeah. I'm a big supporter of Acorn. I got buddies in there, Acorn. He's in the east side. Peter, no Peter from Acorn. Peter, what's his last name? From Indian guy.
Yeah, he's actually from North Toronto,
North. Okay, sorry, east. Yeah,
Northwest Toronto.
I saw him at the
Yeah,
Labor Day parade. Huh?
I was the 4 year chair of York Southwestern.
Okay. Oh, can you just tell people what Acorn is? People don't know what Acorn. You
Yeah,
just don't know what it
yeah.
is.
Acorn is a Association of Community for Reform Now, and we're social justice advocates, whether it be deputing at City Hall about payday lenders, predatory landlords, above guideline increases, inclusionary zoning, rent geared to income, all those sort of things.
Yeah, yeah. I saw that when I was running the election for the mayor last year and this year. I saw Acorn sent all the pledges for all the candidates to take a pledge for what they
Yes.
want. Yeah, it was pretty. I looked at it. I was like, I knew about Acorn, like not all the details. I read
Yeah.
the whole 3-page pledge, like what they wanted. I was like, really? I should like. You mean that doesn't exist right now? Like you
Yeah.
said, this doesn't exist. Like increase of 301 call 301 workers. What do you call them? We call them deputy workers. They got a word for the case workers or whatever. But there's this whole Acorn list, and I was looking at it, like we're talking among ourselves, like, are you serious? None of this exists right now, and they're fighting for this all this time. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
We have a lot of support at City Hall and um, at Queens Park, because we have over 40,000 members in the
Yeah,
GTA. So we have 100. I think now it's at over 160,000 Canada. So we have a lot of say because we represent a lot of votes.
that's good.
As
I know
simple
people
as
don't.
that.
Yeah, I'm glad people don't realize what Acorn is. And also, my biggest appeal with for not against, but for Acorn last year was the fighting for free internet in communities.
Yes, we've been fighting for that for a long time.
13 years now,
Oh,
13 or 14 years.
we've been working on rent safe TO for 14 years. I
Yeah,
was involved heavily with that, and it's kind of fizzled out at City Hall. But we're going to change that. The idea was internet for all, for our elderly or for those who meet a certain criteria on a fixed income.
yep.
Many of our community members can't afford internet
I talked to
because
I know
it's
five I
just too
know five
expensive.
people. They go to Charles Road, they can't even go concert. They get a walk.
Yeah,
It's
I
internet.
lost. Oh, okay.
Oh,
I
you
lost
got
your
me?
cell phone. So a lot of our elderly and a lot of our disability recipients just can't afford internet or can't afford the equipment.
No.
We're trying to change that, and I believe I don't know, like if you earn it, I guess it would be on your annual income, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be a threshold somewhere. It'd probably be maybe now it might be more, but it'd probably be around 22,000, maybe now 24. And you should be able to have access. You have to have access to internet. I mean, nowadays it's just as simple as that. And why can't we have the Rogers and the Bells be able to subsidize that?
We
Right.
just
Number
got
one.
we just got service in the subway now finally.
Yeah.
What's really funny is that you said because like my mom and my some of my other relatives they pay the internet package the internet with the phone and the TV with the internet, but they don't use the internet. They don't pay it. They have to buy it because it's cheaper than buying the like
The
separately.
package.
Yeah, it's cheaper buying it.
Yeah.
And so they're paying for something they don't even use, have no idea how to use it, but it's cheaper, right? And I think that's what they're
Yeah.
wrong there. I made a suggestion last year during the with Acorn. I wrote to the city hall, and I was used to be in the reserves. We used to be
Yeah.
communication. A lot of people don't realize the way that the subways built back in the 50s and 60s, they have a lot of communication relay system underground. I know it's for a fact. I said, why don't you bounce a signal off? It's called bouncing. It's hard to explain in short term here. Bouncing a signal where the signal is bounced off, right? Like the ionosphere and radio theory and all. But with signals, you just bounce off something. You reflect it off of an item, something like underground. in the subways, if you're on a subway line with the Acorn people that residing there, there's an area down underground. Each place has a communication relay box. I don't know if it's still there, but they can bounce off that center because it's a vast communication and it's free internet. It can just be upgraded. And I put the suggestion to the city hall and some, not Acorn, but some of the other officials. Never heard back from them because and it's free. It's not going to hurt you. It's not costing anybody. It's been established here. It's been sitting there. I said, people say, "What are you talking about?" I go, "Well, think about it. When the subway breaks down, they have to have compensation. There's underground stuff down there for them. They don't just build a subway and just that's it. There's no passageways and exits and all that, you know. So so funny. Just
A
us.
lot of the resistance we were getting on that, although nobody would say it, because we would hear, we would, because we're at City Hall, time at Queen's Park, we get to hear from politicians, what normally wouldn't be said in anywhere. So we hear all the rufflings going on and stuff like that, which is quite interesting. But also a big resistance to that was John Tory sat on the board at Rogers, right? So I mean that's just explain it. We can never get anywhere with John Tory.
Funny is Roger, and I've talked to Roger before. Company they don't offer any senior discount for anybody. Like
Yeah,
even they have a loyalty program. They'll give you that. I've been
yeah,
a loyal customer for like 18 years. So I get a bit of a discount.
yeah.
But there's no senior programs. There's no like in the states. Like because in the states they have all kinds of they have great competition among their cable companies. That's a big thing right there. There's not one conglomerate, you know, taking
If you
over the old.
if you think of let's say if you pay $50 a month for your internet, for an Ontario disability recipient, that $50 is nutrition.
That's right. Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's about housing, nutrition, and mental health.
Yep.
So these things now, those of us with lived experience, we get many of us get opportunity to talk in the media, because before they just want a side where they
Yeah.
put you on this committee so they could check off a box, right? Just say you're part of it, but they don't want to hear from you, right?
I like that.
They
That's
don't,
more
they
of a
don't want you talking, right? They don't want you doing anything.
That's true. Committee.
Now it's changing.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
they seek us out, and in some cases will have us go to speak at different events or whatever the case may be, and sometimes they even pay us via honorarium.
Oh, that's good.
Right, so honorariums, if you're an Ontario disability recipient, although I'm not on that books anymore, is like that gift from heaven, because honorariums are deemed as gifts, so you're not clawed back 50% on it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Wow.
Right, so now we're being sought out to be able to speak, to get the message, these messages
I guess
across.
they couldn't keep it quiet. The committee. So funny.
That's the reality of it. And I'm also with the Acquired Brain Injury 2024 Conference Planning Committee. And we just finished the 2022, so we start that 2 years early.
Wow.
I'm the only one that sits on that committee with lived experience. All the rest are all medical.
Oh, they're just theory.
The 12 on that committee is all medical staff from
Oh, okay.
Toronto
So
Western, Sunnybrook, St.
yeah.
Michael's. They're
So
all
they don't.
doctors, and
So they're just like storybook guys, right? Storybook
could
people.
be.
Yeah.
Last year, myself and a friend of mine, we were the first two individuals that were ever sat on the planning committee of that conference.
Yeah, that says something,
Kind
eh?
of sad, really. It's kind of sad, but it's got to
It
start
is.
somewhere.
It's kind of pathetic, actually. It's kind of like really.
But we move forward, and now we get a voice. We get a voice. We get our voices heard. And what we got to do, what we push for and advocate for, is that we got to get the medical staff not to listen, but to hear what we're saying.
Yeah.
Right,
Lived
because
experience, right?
we are experts on ourselves, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, we
Yeah.
are the teachers, right? The
Oh,
doctors are the teachers.
true.
We are the teachers, and they're starting to get that now.
Well, the whole thing. I talked about it on a debate. We had a thing with the wheel. Those the libraries have those bars where you go for scanning when you go through, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So over here in Maryville, before they switched, they had like 2 minutes left. They put these bars there, right? But they didn't talk to the people that actually are in wheelchairs or scooter or
yeah.
So they put these establishments there. We have one lady that comes, she's a regular, and she has a bed, and that's her wheelchair. She lies in
Yeah,
it. And because the thing was so narrow, we were there one day. I was with her, and she couldn't get in. We had to steer like it's like going through traffic, like a steering wheel, right? So I
yeah,
phoned the head come. I phoned the library, the head branch. I said, "This is what's going on here." And they said that we never considered about talking to the people that actually use them. I said, "You're kidding me, right?" So all the money they wasted doing all, they had to redo the whole thing. So then months later, now they just made them wider. They made them a little
yeah,
smaller, right? But that's not from consulting the people that actually use the wheelchairs or the scooters, you know? I said,
yeah.
why don't you common sense, just consult the people. Then then you can decide how to build things, right? It doesn't make any sense. I just got 1 minute, 38 seconds. Want to go to the next session right away? Do you want to take a break or what?
No, let's go back to back because I have a meeting at the art gallery
Oh, okay,
with,
you wanna go back to that? Okay, so we'll sign off here, and I'll sign off right on in about 2 minutes on the next one. Okay.
okay, I'll go on the next one.
Okay.